Hey there, movie lovers. Imagine a world where entire cities roam the earth on massive wheels, devouring smaller towns in a brutal game of survival. That's the thrilling premise of Mortal Engines, the 2018 epic that takes you on a wild ride through a post-apocalyptic landscape like nothing you've ever seen. I'm here to tell you why this film deserves a spot on your watch list. It's a visual feast packed with heart-pounding action, incredible world-building, and a story that keeps you guessing from start to finish. Whether you're a fan of steampunk adventures, high-stakes chases, or just love movies that transport you to another reality, Mortal Engines has something for everyone. Let me walk you through everything you need to know about this underrated gem, from its origins to the talented team behind it, and why it's worth your time without giving away a single plot twist. First off, let's talk about what makes Mortal Engines so captivating right from the get-go. Set in a future where humanity has rebuilt society after a cataclysmic event, the film introduces us to a concept called municipal Darwinism, where mobile cities hunt and consume each other to survive. Picture London as a gigantic, predatory machine on tracks, towering over the wasteland and chasing down prey. It's this kind of bold, imaginative setup that hooks you immediately. The visuals are stunning, with massive mechanical beasts clashing in epic battles that feel both gritty and grand. If you've ever wondered what a mix of Mad Max and Howl's Moving Castle would look like, this is it. And the best part? It's all brought to life with cutting-edge special effects that make every scene pop off the screen. Trust me, once you see these traction cities in motion, you'll be glued to your seat, wondering why more movies don't dare to dream this big. Now, you might be asking, where did this wild idea come from? Mortal Engines is based on the first book in a young adult novel series by British author Philip Reeve. The book, also titled Mortal Engines, was published back in 2001 and kicked off a quartet that includes Predator's Gold, Infernal Devices, and A Darkling Plane. Reeve's world is rich with themes of survival, imperialism, and human resilience, all wrapped in a steampunk aesthetic that's equal parts inventive and thought-provoking. The film adaptation stays true to that spirit, bringing the pages to life in a way that's accessible for newcomers while nodding to fans of the books. If you're into dystopian stories with a twist, like The Hunger Games or Divergent, but crave something more mechanical and monstrous, this is your next obsession. It's not just about the spectacle, it's about exploring how societies evolve in the face of destruction, and it does so with a sense of wonder that's infectious. Behind the camera, the magic starts with director Christian Rivers. This was his feature film directorial debut, and what a way to burst onto the scene. Rivers has a background in visual effects and storyboarding, having worked closely with Peter Jackson on projects like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit films. In fact, he won an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects for his work on King Kong in 2005. His expertise shines through in Mortal Engines, where every frame is meticulously crafted to immerse you in this nomadic world. Rivers brings a fresh eye to the genre, blending high-octane action with quieter, character-driven moments that let the story breathe. If you're a fan of directors who prioritize spectacle without sacrificing heart, like James Cameron or Guillermo del Toro, you'll appreciate how Rivers handles the scale here. It's ambitious, but never overwhelming. Of course, no film this epic comes together without a powerhouse production team. Peter Jackson himself serves as a producer and co-writer, alongside his frequent collaborators Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens. Jackson, the visionary behind The Lord of the Rings, acquired the rights to Reeves' books back in 2009 with the intention of adapting them. Initially, he planned to direct, but he passed the baton to Rivers to give his longtime colleague a shot at the big chair. The screenplay they crafted together captures the essence of the novel while adapting it for the big screen, ensuring the pacing keeps you engaged throughout its 128-minute runtime. Other producers include Zane Weiner, Amanda Walker, and Deborah Fort, with Forte bringing her experience from Scholastic Productions, which has a history of turning young adult books into hits like The Golden Compass. The budget for Mortal Engines was no small feat. Estimates put it between $100 and $150 million, reflecting the massive scale of the production. A big chunk of that went into the visual effects, handled by Weta Digital, the New Zealand-based company founded by Jackson that's renowned for its groundbreaking work. They created over 2,000 visual effects shots using a mix of practical models, CGI, and motion capture to bring the traction cities to life. Filming took place primarily in New Zealand, at Stone Street Studios in Wellington, with additional location shoots to capture the vast, barren landscapes that set the tone. The production design by Dan Henna, another Lord of the Rings alum, is a standout. Think intricate steampunk machinery, Victorian-inspired architecture fused with futuristic tech, and costumes that blend rugged survival gear with elegant city dweller attire. It's also detailed that you could pause any scene and find new elements to admire. Let's dive into the cast, because these performers are what ground the spectacle in real emotion. Leading the charge is Hera Hilmar as Hester Shaw, a fierce and determined young woman with a mysterious scar and a drive that propels the story forward. Hilmar, an Icelandic actress known for roles in Da Vinci's Demons and The Ottoman Lieutenant, brings a quiet intensity to the part that's perfect for the character's complexity. Opposite her is Robert Sheehan as Tom Natsworthy, a historian from London who's thrust into adventure. Sheehan, who you might recognize from Misfits or The Umbrella Academy, infuses Tom with charm and wide-eyed wonder, making him the relatable entry point for the audience. Then there's Hugo Weaving as Thaddeus Valentine, the ambitious head of London's Guild of Historians. Weaving, famous for his iconic roles as Agent Smith in The Matrix and Elrond in The Lord of the Rings, delivers a performance that's equal parts charismatic and menacing, adding layers to the film's intrigue. Jihae plays Anna Fang, a daring anti-tractionist pilot with a flair for the dramatic. The South Korean-American singer and actress, who also goes by her music moniker Jihae, brings a cool, rebellious energy that's impossible to ignore. Her aerial sequences are some of the film's highlights. Supporting the leads is a stellar ensemble. Ronan Raftery portrays Beavis Pod, a loyal apprentice engineer whose wit lightens tense moments. Layla George, daughter of actors Vincent D'Onofrio and Greta Scacchi, shines as Catherine Valentine, Thaddeus's daughter, bringing a sense of privilege and curiosity to her role. Patrick Malahide is Magnus Crome, the stern Lord Mayor of London, with a commanding presence that fits the character's authority. Stephen Lang, known for Avatar, embodies Shrike, a resurrected stalker, a biomechanical warrior with haunting physicality, achieved through motion capture and prosthetics. Other notable cast members include Colin Salmon as Chudley Pomeroy, a fellow historian, Mark Mitchinson as Vambrace, a tough enforcer, Regé-Jean Page, pre-Bridgerton fame, as Captain Cora, leader of the Anti-Traction League's air forces, Menik Gunaratne as Satya, Frankie Adams as Yasmina Rashid, Leifur Sigurdarson as Nils Lindstrom, Con West as Toa Heika, Sophie Cox as Clyde Potts, Ki Chan as Governor Kwan, and Andrew Lees as Herbert Meliphant. Even smaller roles like Karen Pistorius as Pandora Shaw or Poppy McLeod as young Hester add depth to the world. The casting was diverse, reflecting the global nature of this future society, with actors from Iceland, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, South Korea, and more, which enriches the cultural tapestry of the film. On the technical side, the cinematography by Simon Raby captures the grandeur beautifully, using sweeping aerial shots and intimate close-ups to balance the epic with the personal. Raby, who worked on District 9 and The Hobbit, employs a dynamic camera style that makes the chases feel visceral. The editing by Jono Woodford Robinson keeps the momentum going, seamlessly blending action set pieces with quieter dialogues. And the score, composed by Junkie XL, whose real name is Tom Holkenborg, it's a pulse-pounding mix of orchestral swells, electronic beats, and industrial sounds that perfectly matches the mechanical mayhem. Holkenborg, known for Mad Max, Fury Road, and Deadpool, crafted themes that evoke both the thrill of pursuit and the melancholy of a ruined world. Production wasn't without its challenges. Filming wrapped in 2017 after several months, with reshoots in early 2018 to fine-tune the story. The team built massive practical sets, including a detailed recreation of London's underbelly, complete with working gears and conveyor belts. For the traction cities, they used miniatures combined with digital extensions. Old school meets new tech in the best way. Fun fact, the film's title comes from a line in Shakespeare's Othello, but Reeve adapted it for his story of moving metropolises. Another trivia tidbit, the Anti-Traction League's flying machines were inspired by real-world aviation history, with designs nodding to early biplanes and zeppelins. When Mortal Engines hit theaters on December 14, 2018, distributed by Universal Pictures, it was released in both standard and 3D formats, as well as IMAX for that extra immersive punch. The premiere was in London, fittingly, given the city's central role. Marketing highlighted the spectacle, with trailers showcasing the city chases and taglines like, "Some scars never heal." It opened against heavy competition, including Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse and Aquaman, which impacted its performance. Box office-wise, it earned about $15.9 million in the US and Canada, with a worldwide total of around $83.9 million, against its $100 to $150 million budget plus marketing costs. It was considered a financial disappointment, leading to no immediate sequels despite the book series' potential. But don't let that deter you. Many great films underperform initially and find their audience later, like Blade Runner or The Shawshank Redemption. Critically, Mortal Engines received mixed reviews. On Rotten Tomatoes, it holds a 26% approval rating from critics, with an audience score of 48%. Reviewers praised the visual effects, world building, and ambitious scope. Variety called it a visual treat. But some felt the story rushed through character development. RogerEbert.com gave it 2.5 stars, noting the jaw-dropping production design. Empire magazine awarded 3 stars, highlighting the exhilarating action. The Guardian appreciated the anti-imperialist themes, while the New York Times lauded the steampunk aesthetics. Overall, it's seen as a film where the spectacle outshines the script, but that's part of its charm if you're in for a fun escape. Trivia time. Did you know that Hugo Weaving's character was originally more villainous in the books, but the film tones it down for nuance? Or that Stephen Lang's Shrike required hours in makeup and stilts to achieve his towering, eerie look? The film also features Easter eggs for book fans, like references to the other novels without spoiling anything. Production involved over 1,000 crew members, many from New Zealand's film industry, boosting the local economy. And Peter Jackson makes a cameo. Keep an eye out for him in a crowd scene. Home media release came in March 2019 with DVD, Blu-ray, and 4K Ultra HD versions packed with extras like behind-the-scenes featurettes, deleted scenes, and commentary from Rivers and Jackson. If you're watching digitally, platforms like Netflix or Amazon Prime have carried it at times, but check your local streaming for availability. Mortal Engines is one of those films that just keeps giving the more you dig into it. We've already covered the wild premise, the incredible world building, the talented director Christian Rivers in his feature debut, the powerhouse production team led by Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyens, the massive scale with a budget ranging from $100 to $150 million. Some reports pin it closer to $110 million after New Zealand rebates, and that jaw-dropping work from Weta Digital. But there's so much more to unpack about why this movie is worth your time, even years later. It's got heart, it's got spectacle, and it's got details that make rewatches endlessly rewarding. Let's keep rolling through everything that makes Mortal Engines special without spoiling a thing. One of the film's biggest strengths is how it feels lived in. The Traction cities aren't just big CGI set pieces. They're like floating societies with their own classes, economies, and cultures. London, as the main Predator city, has this layered Victorian steampunk vibe with guilds for historians, engineers, and more. The lower decks are gritty and industrial, full of smoke, gears, and hard-working folks, while the upper levels feel almost aristocratic. The production design team, headed by Dan Henna, who's no stranger to epic worlds after working on The Lord of the Rings, built practical sets at Stone Street Studios in Wellington that were massive. They constructed entire sections of London's gut, with conveyor belts, walkways, and machinery that actually moved. Actors talked about how being on those sets made them feel tiny, which translates perfectly to the screen. When you see a small character running through these colossal environments, it's not all green screen. There's real texture there that grounds the fantasy. Weta Digital handled over 2,000 visual effects shots, and they didn't just slap CGI on top, they blended it seamlessly with practical elements. For the city chases and devourings, they used a mix of miniatures, digital extensions, and procedural simulations to make the destruction feel organic and terrifying. Tools like their in-house Gumby system helped simulate how these gigantic wheeled behemoths interact with the ground, crushing earth, kicking up dust clouds, and deforming terrain realistically. The aerial battles with airships? Those were a highlight, combining motion capture, practical models, and high-speed animation for that thrilling sense of speed and danger. Animation supervisor Dennis Yu and VFX supervisors like Ken McGaw, Kevin Smith, and Luke Miller poured incredible detail into every frame. Even the resurrected soldier character Shrike, played through performance and motion capture by Stephen Lang, was a full digital creation with a human soul, blending robotics and emotion in a way that's haunting and memorable. Lang spent hours in heavy prosthetics and stilts to get the physicality right, and it shows. The cast really elevates everything. Hera Hilmar as Hester Shaw gives a performance that's raw and intense. She's scarred, driven, and layered with quiet strength. Icelandic by birth, she brings this fierce authenticity that makes Hester feel like a real survivor in this brutal world. Robert Sheehan as Tom Natsworthy is the perfect counterpoint. Charming, a bit naive at first, with that Irish warmth that draws you in. Their chemistry is natural and keeps the emotional core beating strong amid all the chaos. Hugo Weaving as Thaddeus Valentine is magnetic. He has this scholarly menace that's so compelling you can't look away. Jihae's Anna Fang is cool, confident, and badass. Her flying scenes are pure adrenaline. Then you've got Ronan Raftery as the witty Beavis Pod, Layla George adding depth as Catherine, Patrick Malahide as the authoritative Magnus Chrome, and Stephen Lang bringing eerie presence to Shrike. The ensemble feels international and diverse, which fits a world rebuilt from global ruins. Actors from Iceland, Ireland, Australia, South Korea, New Zealand, the US, and beyond all contribute to that sense of a fractured but connected humanity. Trivia lovers, get ready! There are some fun nuggets here. In the London Museum, instead of Disney characters from the book as animal-headed gods of Lost America, the film swaps in minions from Despicable Me, a cheeky nod since Universal distributed both. Peter Jackson himself pops up in a cameo if you watch closely in a crowd scene. The film's title draws from Shakespeare's Othello, but Reeve twisted it for his moving cities concept. Filming wrapped in just 4 months from April to July 2017, with some pickups in early 2018, impressive for something this ambitious. The Anti-Traction League's air fleet draws inspiration from early 20th century aviation, like biplanes and airships, giving it that retro futuristic flair. And Shrike's design required intricate motion capture. Lang's performance was key to making the character feel alive despite being mostly digital. The score by Junkie XL Tom Holkenborg is electric. He mixes heavy orchestral elements with industrial percussion and electronic pulses that ramp up during chases and calm down for reflective moments. It's got that same energy he brought to Mad Max, Fury Road, making the action feel visceral. Cinematographer Simon Raby uses wide lenses for the epic scale and tighter shots for intimate character beats. Editor Jono Woodford Robinson keeps the 128-minute runtime moving briskly, never dragging, always building tension. Release-wise, the world premiere was November 27, 2018 in London, fitting for a film starring a predatory version of the city. It hit New Zealand theaters December 6th and the US December 14th in 3D, IMAX, and Dolby Cinema. Marketing pushed the spectacle hard, with trailers full of city pursuits and taglines emphasizing survival in a mobile world. But it opened against tough competition. Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Verse and the Mule domestically, plus Aquaman soon after globally. It earned about $7.6 million on opening weekend in the US, finishing 5th, and totaled around $16 million domestically and $84 million worldwide. Against that hefty budget plus marketing, it was labeled a box office bomb. Estimates say losses around $175 million when all costs factored in. That's tough. And it killed any quick sequel plans despite the book series having 3 more installments rich with potential. Critics were split. Rotten Tomatoes sits at about 26% from reviewers, with praise for visuals, effects, and ambition, but knocks for pacing, character depth, and feeling rushed in adapting the source. Audience scores hover around 48%. Outlets like Variety called it a visual treat. Empire gave 3 stars for exhilarating action. The Guardian noted its anti-imperialist vibes, while RogerEbert.com and others found it dramatically inert or kitschy. Author Philip Reeve himself loved it, saying Rivers nailed the pace and emotional core. Over time, it's gained cult appreciation. Fans love the originality in a sea of franchises, the steampunk aesthetic, and how it tackles themes like consumerism, environmental ruin, and rebuilding society. Home releases in 2019 brought Blu-ray, DVD, and 4K with solid extras. Behind-the-scenes on effects, city designs, cast interviews, deleted scenes, and commentary from Rivers and Jackson. It's streamed on various platforms over the years, perfect for rediscovery. We're still rolling strong on why Mortal Engines is that hidden gem you need to experience. Let's keep the momentum going and dive even deeper into the layers that make this film so special. We've talked about the epic world, the stellar team, the cast that brings it all to life, the jaw-dropping effects from Weta Digital, and even some of the behind-the-scenes magic. But there's plenty more to explore. The clever little details sprinkled throughout, the production hurdles overcome, the thoughtful choices in adapting the source material, and why this movie still holds up as a bold, imaginative adventure worth rediscovering today. One of the coolest things about Mortal Engines is how packed it is with subtle nods and Easter eggs that reward attentive viewers. In the London Museum, where Tom works as an apprentice historian, the exhibits are full of misinterpreted relics from our time. Think everyday objects elevated to ancient artifacts. Instead of the book's Disney characters like Mickey and Pluto as animal-headed gods of lost America, the film cleverly swaps in minions from Despicable Me, since Universal Pictures distributed both. They're right there on a plinth, labeled as deities from a forgotten era. Such a fun, cheeky in-joke that fits the theme of history getting twisted over time. You'll also spot dinosaur skeletons like a T-Rex and Triceratops, which feel like a wink to Universal's Jurassic World franchise. Other displays include old skateboards, washing machines, fossilized tech from the 21st century, and even remnants of McDonald's golden arches treated as sacred ruins. Chudley Pomeroy's lapel pin looks suspiciously like Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit, another sly Peter Jackson touch. And keep an eye out for wanted posters on London's electronic screens featuring Peter Jackson's face as a playful virtual cameo, plus a statue of Sooty Pete, one of London's guards, modeled after him. Author Philip Reeve himself and his son Sam make a quick cameo as Sean Guarni's onlookers during a crowd scene. Talk about a full-circle moment for the creator. The opening chase sequence is conceptually inspired by the iconic start of Star Wars, A New Hope, with a massive predator pursuing a smaller vessel across a vast landscape. It's that same sense of immediate scale and danger that hooks you right away. Shrike's design draws from classic horror influences. Philip Reeve originally named the character after Max Schreck from Nosferatu, though it evolved. The film's title itself echoes Shakespeare's Othello, where Mortal Engines refers to deadly cannons, cleverly repurposed here for these city-devouring machines. And in a neat bit of foreshadowing, Catherine Valentine holds a book about the 60-Minute War written by Nimrod Pennyroyal, a character who becomes huge in the sequels, Predator's Gold and beyond. Production was a Herculean effort, even with all that Lord of the Rings expertise. Principal photography ran from April to July 2017 at Stone Street Studios in Wellington, New Zealand, wrapping up efficiently in just 4 months despite the complexity. They built 67 physical sets, including the massive London Gut with its grinding machinery, Shrike's eerie workshop, the bustling slave market, and a towering recreation of St. Paul's Cathedral as the film's biggest practical build. The Airhaven bar set was notoriously tricky, built on a tilted rig to simulate its floating, swaying nature. It made a lot of the cast and crew queasy during shoots. Over 3,900 extras were involved, each taking about 30 minutes to costume, adding to the lived-in feel of these mobile societies. Reshoots happened in early 2018 to polish the pacing and emotional beats. Weta Digital pushed boundaries with over 2,000 effects shots, using procedural simulations for realistic destruction, like how buildings splinter and cities deform the ground. London's model alone had 686 million cubic meters of detail, broken into over 17,000 individual pieces across 8 tiers for believable motion over varied terrain. They blended practical miniatures, digital extensions, and high-fidelity simulations for everything from fiery explosions to aerial dogfights. Shrike wasn't full motion capture. Instead, Stephen Lang's performance was enhanced digitally to capture his mechanical menace without losing the human element underneath. Adapting Philip Reeve's novel meant some smart changes to fit the big screen. The book is more episodic, with subplots and side adventures that the film streamlines for a tighter 128-minute runtime. Hester Shaw's scar is toned down significantly. In the novel, it's far more grotesque, a constant reminder of trauma that shapes her deeply. The movie makes her more approachable visually, while keeping her fierce spirit intact. London's guild system, historians, engineers, merchants, navigators, is mostly implied rather than explained in detail to avoid infodumps. Some characters like Catherine get less focus, and certain darker, morally ambiguous elements are softened for broader appeal. The Anti-Traction League's tech leans more futuristic with jet-like engines instead of the book's consistent propeller-driven steampunk consistency. But author Reeve himself praised the film, saying Christian Rivers nailed the pace, visuals, and emotional core, even with the changes. It's still fundamentally the same story of survival, ambition, and redemption. Why did it underperform at the box office? It opened December 14, 2018, against Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, The Mule, and soon Aquaman. Tough holiday competition. Marketing focused on spectacle but struggled to convey the unique premise quickly in trailers or posters. No major A-list stars drew crowds, and the YA dystopian wave was cooling after hits like The Hunger Games. It earned about $16 million domestically and $84 million worldwide against a $100+ million budget, plus marketing, leading to estimated losses over $100 to $175 million. Critics were mixed. Praise for ambition and effects, criticism for rushed storytelling, but audiences who saw it often loved the originality. It found a second life on home video and streaming, with Blu-ray extras like commentaries, deleted scenes, and VFX breakdowns that let fans geek out over the craft. We're not slowing down yet. There's still so much fascinating stuff about mortal engines that makes it a film worth celebrating, even if it didn't conquer the box office like it deserved. We've touched on the Easter eggs, the production grind, the book adaptations, and those mind-blowing weta-digital effects. Now let's peel back even more layers. The clever visual effects breakdowns that show how they built this rolling apocalypse. Some deeper trivia that fans still geek out over. The thoughtful choices in character design, and why this movie's legacy keeps growing among people who love bold, original sci-fi. Stick with me. There's plenty more to love about this epic ride. Let's start with the visual effects magic from Weta Digital, because that's where a huge part of the film's wow factor comes from. They handled over 2,000 shots, and the breakdowns they released are incredible to watch if you ever get the chance on home video extras or online. For London's massive Predator form, they didn't just slap on generic CGI, they rigged the entire city in sections. The model clocked in at a staggering 686 million cubic meters of detail, broken into over 17,000 individual pieces across 8 tiers. Each tier was built from real-world London architecture references, like Victorian buildings fused with industrial machinery, so when the city moves over rough terrain, it feels believable, deforming, grinding, and shifting realistically. They used procedural simulations for destruction. When London devours a smaller town, the computer calculates how metal twists, buildings splinter, and debris flies based on physics rules, not hand-animated every piece. That makes the chases feel chaotic and terrifying, like watching unstoppable forces collide. Shrike's character was another VFX triumph. Stephen Lang performed on set in heavy prosthetics and stilts to nail the towering, eerie posture, but digitally they layered in the biomechanical details. Glowing green eyes, metallic skin transitions, and that haunting, damaged state. Motion capture wasn't the go-to here. Instead, they blended performance reference with procedural animation to keep his movements mechanical yet soulful. The team talked about avoiding full mocap for some elements because it can feel too human. Shrike needed to be unsettlingly otherworldly. Supervisors like Ken McGaugh, Kevin Smith, and Luke Miller pushed boundaries with layered shading for skin-to-metal transitions and FX simulations for dust, fire, and structural collapse. Their work earned nods like a Visual Effects Society Award for Outstanding Model in a Photoreal project. It's the kind of craftsmanship that makes rewatches rewarding. You spot new details in how a gear turns or smoke billows. More trivia gems keep popping up the deeper you dig. The opening chase echoes Star Wars, A New Hope deliberately, a massive pursuer bearing down on a fleeing ship across a barren plain to grab you instantly with scale and tension. Hester's full name reveal ties into a recurring theme in Reeves' books. Characters often carry ancient names that are actually old trademarks or brands, like Pandora Shaw nodding to the software, or later ones like Windeline Pie and Napster Varley. In the museum, beyond the Minions swap for Disney idols, there's a Bilbo Baggins-style acorn pin on Chudley Pomeroy's lapel, pure Peter Jackson love. And the Airhaven set? Built on a tilting rig to mimic floating instability, it made cast and crew motion sick during shoots. Hilmar called it the queasiest experience on a moving room set. Over 3,900 extras were costumed, each taking about 30 minutes, flooding scenes with that lived-in society feel. On adaptations, the film streamlined a lot from the book for pacing. Hester's scar is far less grotesque in the movie. Reeve described it as truly disfiguring in the novel, shaping her isolation and rage more intensely, but they softened it for visual accessibility while keeping her strength. London's guild politics, historians, engineers, merchants, navigators are mostly backgrounded. The book dives deeper into class tensions and bureaucracy. Some subplots, like extended side adventures or dark or moral grays, got trimmed to fit 128 minutes. Catherine Valentine's role shrinks a bit, losing some of her resourcefulness and empathy that drives key moments in the pages. Airships lean futuristic with jet-like engines instead of pure propeller steampunk consistency. But Philip Reeve praised the adaptation, saying Rivers captured the emotional heart and breakneck pace perfectly, even with changes. The book ends differently too, more bittersweet and open-ended. But both versions leave you pondering humanity's endless hunger for more. Deleted scenes add intriguing what-ifs. Some explored Shrike and Hester's deeper history, more father-daughter hostility and backstory that got condensed. Political clashes between figures like Valentine and Chrome had extra ideological back-and-forth trimmed during reshoots, merging scenes for flow. Catherine and Beavis Pod had moments plotting against Medusa that were shortened or cut, reducing build-up to the climax. Fans speculate a full extended cut could add an hour of character depth, turning it into a richer epic. Maybe one day we'll see those on a special release. Why does Mortal Engines endure? It's a rare big studio swing at something wholly new. No superheroes, no remakes, just pure invention. The themes hit harder now. Endless consumption destroying the environment, societies built on predation, the cost of progress. In a post-apocalyptic wasteland, it asks what we're willing to devour to survive. The visuals still hold up stunningly. Those city devourings are visceral masterpieces, and the cast delivers heart amid the spectacle. Hera Hilmar's quiet fury, Robert Sheehan's wide-eyed wonder, Hugo Weaving's layered menace, Stephen Lang's haunting physicality, they make you care about these wheeled worlds. We're deep into the heart of why Mortal Engines remains such a captivating watch, even after all these years. We've explored the epic premise, the visionary team, the cast's powerhouse performances, the mind-blowing Weta digital effects, the clever Easter eggs, and the production challenges that shaped this ambitious beast. But there's even more to uncover. Let's keep peeling back the layers with fresh insights into the visual effects wizardry, some overlooked production quirks, deeper book-to-film tweaks, and why this film still sparks conversations among fans who crave something truly original. Take the visual effects from Weta Digital. They're not just impressive. They're a masterclass in blending old-school craftsmanship with cutting-edge tech. For the massive traction cities, especially London, they built a digital model with an insane 686 million cubic meters of detail, divided into over 17,000 individual pieces across 8 tiers. Each tier pulled from real Victorian London architecture mixed with industrial grit, so when the city lumbers across uneven ground, it deforms realistically. Tires sinking, structures groaning, dust clouds billowing up in procedural simulations that let the computer handle the chaos based on physics rules rather than hand-keying every splinter. That means when a smaller town gets devoured, the destruction feels organic. Metal twists, buildings crumple, and debris scatters in ways that look terrifyingly real. Weta's FX supervisors like Ken McGaw, Kevin Smith, and Luke Miller used layered shading for transitions between skin and metal on characters like Shrike, avoiding full motion capture in some spots because it could feel too human. Shrike needed that eerie mechanical menace, so they combined Stephen Lang's on-set performance in prosthetics and stilts with procedural animation for his movements. The result? A cyborg that haunts without ever looking cartoonish. Their work even snagged a Visual Effects Society Award for Outstanding Model in a photoreal project. And the breakdowns on the home release or their microsite show just how meticulously they layered everything, from fiery explosions to aerial skirmishes. Fun production quirks add to the charm too. The Airhaven bar set was mounted on a tilting rig to simulate its floating sway. Cast members like Hera Hilmar said it made everyone motion sick, turning a simple dialogue scene into a queasy ordeal. Over 3,900 extras were wrangled for crowd shots, each taking about 30 minutes to costume, creating that bustling lived-in society feel. Principal photography wrapped in just 4 months from April to July 2017 at Stone Street Studios, with reshoots in early 2018 to tighten emotional beats and pacing. Peter Jackson's Wingnut Films handled production, bringing in the same reliable crew from his Lord of the Rings days. It's no wonder the world feels so cohesive. And those museum Easter eggs? Beyond the minions as deities of Lost America, a sly universal swap for the book's Disney idols, you've got dinosaur skeletons nodding to Jurassic World, remnants of McDonald's arches treated as ancient relics, old skateboards and washing machines labeled as priceless artifacts, and even a Bilbo Baggins-style acorn pin on Chudley Pomeroy's lapel. Wanted posters on London's screens feature Peter Jackson's face as a virtual cameo, and author Philip Reeve plus his son Sam pop up as Sean Guiney's onlookers. Little touches like these make the future feel connected to our past in the funniest, most ironic ways. On the book-to-film front, the changes were deliberate to fit a tight 128-minute runtime. The novel's episodic structure, side adventures, deeper guild politics, was streamlined, so London's 4 guilds, historians, engineers, merchants, navigators, are mostly implied rather than explained in detail. Hester's scar is far less grotesque here. In the book, it's truly disfiguring, amplifying her isolation and rage. But the film tones it down for broader appeal while preserving her fierce drive. Catherine Valentine's subplot gets condensed. She loses some investigative depth and resourcefulness aboard London. Valentine himself shifts from a conflicted figure working under Mayor Crome to a more direct antagonist, and the ending tweaks set up sequel potential, though sadly, none came. Deleted scenes fans miss include more of Shrike and Hester's backstory, exploring their hostile father-daughter dynamic, and extra ideological clashes between Valentine and Crome that added political nuance. Some reshoots merged scenes, trimming political battles for flow. Author Philip Reeve still gave it high praise, noting Rivers captured the emotional core and relentless pace beautifully, even with the trims. What keeps Mortal Engines alive in discussions? It's that rare blockbuster that dares originality. No capes, no reboots. Just a wildly inventive world of rolling metropolises, sky battles, and themes that feel eerily relevant. Rampant consumption ravaging the planet, power structures built on predation, the illusion of endless progress. The spectacle holds up. Those city devourings are visceral masterpieces, and the heart shines through in the underdog stories of Hester, Tom, and their unlikely allies. Flaws like rushed character moments exist, but they don't overshadow the wonder. If anything, the film's bomb status, with worldwide grosses around $84 million against a $100 to $150 million budget plus marketing, makes it a cult favorite. Rediscovered on streaming, Blu-ray extras packed with VFX breakdowns, commentaries from Rivers and Jackson, and deleted scenes that hint at what could have been. We're still cruising through all the reasons Mortal Engines is that bold, underappreciated adventure you should experience. Let's keep the engines humming with even more fascinating layers. We've already covered the core premise, the dream team behind it, the cast's standout work, the insane scale of Weta Digital's effects, those sneaky Easter eggs in the London Museum, and the thoughtful and sometimes controversial choices in adapting Philip Reeve's novel. But there's plenty left to explore. More on the VFX wizardry that made those cities feel alive, deeper production insights, author Reeve's own take on the film, additional trivia that adds extra flavor, and why this movie's cult status keeps growing despite its rocky theatrical run. Diving back into Weta Digital's work, because it's truly the backbone of what makes Mortal Engines visually unforgettable. They delivered over 1,600 visual effects shots. Some breakdowns put the number closer to 1,682, focusing on massive environments, city movements, aerial battles, and fiery explosions. For London's colossal predator form, they created a digital model boasting 686 million cubic meters of detail, segmented into over 17,000 individual pieces across 8 tiers. These lily pads, 113 sections of the city, were rigged independently so the whole beast could deform and react realistically to rough terrain. Tracks sinking into dirt, buildings shifting, dust and debris kicking up in procedural simulations driven by physics engines rather than manual animation for every bit. That procedural approach let the computer handle the organic chaos of destruction. When London tears into a smaller town, metal bends, structures collapse, and sparks fly in ways that feel brutally authentic. Tools like their cake technology streamed in just the right level of geometric and material detail for rendering, avoiding overload, while keeping everything hyper-detailed. The aerial sequences, with airships darting through the sky, combined practical model work, high-speed animation, and motion-captured elements for that exhilarating sense of speed and danger. Supervisors Ken McGaw, Kevin Smith, and Luke Miller, along with animation supervisor Dennis Yu, emphasized blending old-school practical cues with digital wizardry. Shrike's half-man, half-machine look used a custom facial muscle rig to let his skin tug realistically against metal plating, drawing from Stephen Lang's intense performance to add emotional depth without full mocap, which they felt could make him too human and less eerie. Their efforts earned a Visual Effects Society Award for Outstanding Model in a Photoreal project, proof that the craft here stands shoulder to shoulder with Weta's Lord of the Rings legacy. Production quirks keep surfacing that show just how hands-on this shoot was. The massive London gut set, complete with grinding conveyor belts and walkways, was built practically at Stone Street Studios, giving actors a real sense of scale. They felt dwarfed, which translated to genuine awe on screen. Reshoots extended the opening chase by having Hera Hilmar sprint around the Salshakan set, pretending to evade the pursuing city, adding tension and excitement to what was originally a shorter sequence. The floating air haven set tilted on a rig to mimic instability, leaving cast and crew queasy after long takes. Over 3,900 extras flooded the scenes, each meticulously costumed in about 30 minutes, populating this nomadic world with believable crowds. Filming wrapped efficiently from April to July 2017, with pickups in 2018 to refine pacing and emotional moments. Peter Jackson's Wingnut Films led the charge, pulling in familiar faces from his Hobbit and Rings crews for that seamless cohesion. Philip Reeve himself weighed in positively on the adaptation. He visited the set in May 2017 and was blown away, noting that most of it looked very much as he'd imagined, with some bits looking even better. After the release, he praised Christian Rivers for delivering a huge, visually awesome action movie with perfect pace and a genuine emotional core. He acknowledged the changes. Films can't cram in every subplot or digression like a novel, but felt it stayed fundamentally the same story of survival and ambition. Reeve highlighted how the movie captured the relentless energy and heart, even if it streamlined elements for the screen. That's high praise from the creator, especially given some fan debates over shifts like Hester's less grotesque scar, the condensed guild politics, or the altered climax dynamics. More trivia to savor. The opening narration by Shrike echoes the ending of the final book, A Darkling Plain, framing the story as a tale told to future generations about the Traction era. A neat bookend touch. Character names often riff on ancient trademarks, like Pandora Shaw nodding to the software brand. Sequels feature gems like Windoline Pie, Daz Gravy, Nutella Iceberg, Napster Varley, and Nabisco Skin. St. Paul's Cathedral in the film is flipped, so its doors face backward, a subtle design tweak for visual flow. The museum's Deities of Lost America section swaps the book's Mickey and Pluto for Minions, a universal in-joke, alongside T-Rex and Triceratops fossils, nodding to Jurassic World, skateboards, washing machines, and even remnants of McDonald's arches treated as sacred ruins. Chudley Pomeroy's acorn lapel pin mirrors Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit. Another Jackson wink. Wanted posters on London's screens include Peter Jackson's face as a digital cameo, and Reeve plus his son Sam appear as Shanguinese onlookers. The film's development stretched back to 2009 when Jackson bought the rights, but it simmered until 2016 amid his Hobbit commitments. Rivers stepped up for his feature debut after years in VFX and storyboarding on Jackson's projects. The script by Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyens aimed for a cinematic flow, adding action flair like expanded aerial-to-ground battles while trimming episodic book elements. No sequel materialized, despite setup lines like Anna Fang's Windflower speech hinting at bigger anti-Traction League stories. Due to the box office, around 84 million worldwide against 100 to 150 million plus marketing, with losses estimated at 100 to 175 million. Yet that underdog status has fueled its cult following. Fans rediscover it on streaming or Blu-ray, geeking out over commentaries, deleted scenes, more Shrike-Hester backstory, extra guild intrigue, and VFX breakdowns that reveal the craft. We're powering through this deep dive into mortal engines like one of those unstoppable traction cities, relentless, packed with surprises, and full of that steampunk grit that makes it so addictive. We've hit on the core spectacle, the weight of digital wizardry, those 686 million cubic meters of detail on London alone. The cast chemistry, Easter eggs like the Minions as deities of Lost America, or Peter Jackson's virtual cameo on wanted posters, and even Philip Reeves' own warm take on the adaptation. He called it a huge, visually awesome action movie with perfect pace and a genuine emotional core, praising how Christian Rivers nailed the heart despite the changes. But let's keep the tracks turning with more behind-the-scenes gems, production lore, character insights, and why this film's bold vision still captivates fans who hunt for originality in a formula-heavy landscape. One standout element is how Weta Digital pushed procedural simulation to new heights for the destruction sequences. Instead of hand-animating every crumbling building or twisting girder during a city devouring, they let physics-driven systems take over. Digital models of entire structures splinter apart based on real-world rules of force, gravity, and material stress. That creates the raw, unpredictable chaos you feel in those chases. Sparks flying, metal groaning, debris exploding outward in ways that look terrifyingly authentic. For Shrike, they avoided heavy motion capture reliance because it might make his movements too fluid and human. Instead, Stephen Lang's on-set work in prosthetics and stilts got layered with custom facial rigs and procedural tweaks for those eerie, mechanical twitches and glowing green eyes. The transitions from organic skin to cold metal plating were shaded meticulously, giving him that haunting half-man, half-machine presence without ever feeling fake. VFX supervisors Ken McGaw, Kevin Smith, and Luke Miller talked about balancing spectacle with emotional weight. Shrike isn't just a monster, he's a tragic figure, and the effects help sell that inner conflict. Production stories keep adding flavor. The massive practical sets at Stone Street Studios weren't just backdrops. They influenced performances. Actors described feeling genuinely small next to the towering London Gut Recreation, with its working gears and conveyor systems adding realism to every step. Hera Hilmar, as Hester, kept cutting her own lines during rehearsals because she wanted the character to stay feral and sparse with words. Her intensity comes through in body language and those piercing stares. Robert Sheehan's Tom brings wide-eyed innocence that contrasts perfectly, making their unlikely partnership feel earned. Hugo Weaving's Valentine layers charm over menace so subtly that you almost root for him at times, while Jihae's Anna Fang steals scenes with her aerial acrobatics and cool defiance. Layla George as Catherine adds quiet curiosity, and Stephen Lang's physical commitment to Shrike, hours in makeup, stilts for height, makes the resurrected soldier unforgettable. More trivia to fuel your next watch. The opening chase deliberately mirrors Star Wars, A New Hope's famous pursuit across a vast desert, hooking you with instant scale. Character names often riff on forgotten ancient brands. Pandora Shaw nods to software, and the books expand this with gems like Napster Varley or Nutella Iceberg in later stories. Chudley Pomeroy's lapel pin is Bilbo Baggins' acorn from The Hobbit, a sweet Jackson nod. The museum's McDonald's arches as sacred relics, skateboards as artifacts, and dinosaur skeletons, T-Rex and Triceratops, wink at Universal's Jurassic franchise. Philip Reeve and his son Sam cameo as Shangguini's onlookers, full circle for the author. The title pulls from Shakespeare's Othello, where mortal engines means deadly cannons, twisted here into devouring cities. Reeve originally drew from urban sprawl in his Devon hometown, watching towns merge and vanish under expansion. Municipal Darwinism satirizes that merciless growth. Deleted scenes tease what might have been deeper, more on Shrike and Hester's complicated bond, hostile yet paternal in the books, extended guild debates adding political bite, and extra Catherine Beavis intrigue. Reshoots refined action and emotion, but some fans wish for an extended cut to restore book nuances, like Hester's far more disfiguring scar, which the film softened to avoid distraction while keeping her trauma real. Reeve understood the necessities. A film lacks the narrative space for the book's many subplots and digressions, he noted, but he loved how it stayed fundamentally the same thing: survival, ambition, redemption amid rolling apocalypse. The development hell adds irony. Jackson snagged rights in 2009, some say as early as 2001 interest, but Hobbit delays shelved it until 2016. Rivers, a longtime Jackson collaborator, storyboards on Braindead, Oscar for King Kong effects, got his shot at directing, his debut, and sadly, his only major one so far. The Christmas 2018 blitz, Spider-Verse, Aquaman, Mary Poppins Returns crushed its run. But that bomb label, losses around 100 to 175 million, turned it into cult gold. Streaming revivals, Blu-ray breakdowns, and fan love keep it alive. Proof great ideas endure. We're still charging ahead on this epic exploration of mortal engines. The 2018 steampunk spectacle that's equal parts jaw-dropping wonder and underrated treasure. We've unpacked the Rolling City premise, the Peter Jackson-produced ambition, Christian Rivers' directorial debut shine, the Weta Digital FX that earned them a Visual Effects Society Award for Outstanding Model in a Photoreal Project. That London model with its 686 million cubic meters and 17,000 plus pieces is legendary. The cast's magnetic performances and those delightful Easter eggs like the Minions standing in as deities of Lost America in the London Museum, a cheeky Universal swap for the book's Disney idols, dinosaur skeletons nodding to Jurassic World, remnants of McDonald's arches as ancient relics, skateboards and washing machines labeled priceless artifacts, Chudley Pomeroy's Bilbo Baggins-style acorn lapel pin, Peter Jackson's face on London's Wanted posters as a virtual cameo, and even author Philip Reeve plus his son Sam appearing as Shangguanese onlookers. But let's keep the momentum rolling with more production secrets, cast insights from interviews, deeper VFX lore, deleted scene teases, and why this film's wild imagination keeps drawing fans back in. From Weta Digital's breakdowns and interviews, the procedural magic really stands out. For those massive city devourings, they built full digital structures and let physics simulations dictate the destruction. Buildings splintering, girders twisting, debris exploding based on real force and material rules, rather than manual keyframing every detail. That unpredictability makes the chaos feel visceral and terrifying. London's lily pads, 113 independently rigged sections, allowed the city to deform convincingly over rough terrain, with tracks sinking, tiers shifting, and dust billowing in layered FX that avoided overload thanks to their cake technology streaming just the needed geometric and material detail into the renderer. Aerial battles blended practical models, high-speed animation, and digi-doubles for that pulse-racing speed. Shrike's creations skipped heavy motion capture to keep him unsettlingly mechanical. Stephen Lang's performance in prosthetics and stilts got enhanced with a custom facial muscle rig for skin tugging against metal plating, letting those dramatic emotes shine through while glowing green eyes and procedural tweaks added the eerie otherworldliness. Supervisors Ken McGaw, Kevin Smith, Luke Miller, and animation lead Dennis Yu emphasized balancing epic scale with emotional grounding. Shrike isn't pure monster, he's tragic, and the effects sell that soul beneath the circuits. Cast interviews reveal the fun and challenges on set. Hera Hilmar, playing the fierce Hester Shaw, described staying completely feral by cutting her own lines during rehearsals. She wanted Hester sparse with words, letting body language and intensity do the talking. She loved the physical demands, jumping, hanging, dragging, running, demanding but exhilarating. Robert Sheehan brought Tom's wide-eyed wonder and charm, calling the world mind-blowing and praising the badass women driving the story. Hugo Weaving shared how Valentine layers scholarly charm with menace, and he appreciated the ensemble's international vibe. Jihae, as Anna Fang, highlighted the aerial stunts thrill, and how Peter Jackson kept things lighthearted with constant jokes. Layla George reminisced about the sad cut of Catherine's wolf companion dog from the books. She auditioned knowing no wolf, but joked about hating the idea to cope. Stephen Lang committed hours to Shrike's makeup and stilts for authentic, towering menace. The Airhaven bar set tilted on a rig for floating sway. Hilmar called it the most motion sickness-inducing experience, making everyone queasy in a moving room. Deleted scenes offer tantalizing what-ifs. Some expanded Shrike and Hester's backstory, more of his raising her post-trauma, turning their hostile dynamic richer. Peter Jackson mentioned hoping extras might surface on home video. Extra Magnus Chrome clashes with Valentine added political depth. Catherine and Beavis Pod had more investigative plotting trimmed for pacing. The first cut featured more of Patrick Malahide's stern mayor, but reshoots merged scenes to tighten flow. Philip Reeve understood the cuts. Novels have space for digressions films can't afford, but he loved how Rivers preserved the emotional core and breakneck pace. Fun nuggets keep emerging. The opening chase mirrors Star Wars, A New Hope's iconic pursuit for instant hook. Names riff on ancient trademarks. Pandora Shaw echoes software. Sequels go wilder with Napster Varley, Nutella Iceberg, Nabisco Skin. Stalkers like Shrike drew from Max Schreck's Nosferatu. Reeve tweaked from Greik to avoid Shrek vibes. Reeve visited the set in 2017, cameoed, and praised the film as fundamentally the same thing despite changes. Scar softened, guilds backgrounded, Airhaven tech more futuristic. He noted the concept stemmed from watching his Devon hometowns sprawl-devour villages. Municipal Darwinism satirizes unsustainable growth. Development stretched from Jackson's 2009 rights grab, earlier interest in 2001, delayed by Hobbit chaos, until 2016 announcement. Rivers, Jackson's longtime VFX/storyboard collaborator, Oscar for King Kong effects, got his feature shot. The 128-minute runtime trims the book's 336 pages smartly. No Dog the Wolf, aged-up protagonists for Star Wars-like cusp of adulthood feel. This film's legacy? A bold swing at originality in sequel-saturated times. Themes of consumption, empire, environmental ruin hit harder today. Spectacle endures, those devourings, air battles, grinding gears, while heart in Hester's drive and Tom's wonder pulls you in. Cult fans rediscover it on streaming or Blu-ray extras, VFX breakdowns, commentaries, deleted scenes. It's flawed, rushed arcs, mixed reviews, but unforgettable imagination. We're still deep in the gears of Mortal Engines, rolling strong through every layer that makes this 2018 epic so worth your time and attention. We've already geeked out over the insane Weta digital craftsmanship, those procedural destruction sims that let buildings crumple and cities devour each other with terrifying realism. The 686 million cubic meter London model segmented into 17,000 plus pieces across 8 tiers. Shrike's custom facial rig blending Stephen Lang's intense performance with mechanical menace. The Visual Effects Society win for Outstanding Model in a photoreal project. And all the little production quirks like the queasy tilting Airhaven set, the 3,900 extras getting costumed in 30-minute batches, and Hera Hilmar deliberately cutting her own dialogue to keep Hester feral and word-sparse. But there's even more texture to uncover. Sound design secrets, costume and prop details, thematic depth that feels eerily prescient today, and fan reactions over the years, and exactly why this film deserves a fresh look in 2026, when original big swings are rarer than ever. Let's talk sound design, because the auditory world of Mortal Engines is as massive as the visual one. The score by Junkie XL, Tom Holkenborg, is a beast. Industrial percussion hammered like metal on metal, orchestral swells that rise with the chase intensity, electronic pulses that mimic grinding gears, and haunting choral elements during quieter, reflective beats. It never overpowers the story. Instead, it feels like the soundtrack of a living machine. But the real unsung heroes are the sound editors and mixers. Every traction city has its own signature roar. London's deep, rumbling bass as it accelerates, smaller towns with higher-pitched, desperate squeals when they're being hunted. The devourings are layered nightmares, crunching steel, screaming rivets, collapsing masonry, distant human cries, all mixed so you feel the vibration in your chest. The airship engines whine and roar with vintage propeller authenticity mixed with futuristic thrust, while Shrike's footsteps are heavy, metallic thuds that echo his biomechanical weight. Foley artists recorded real industrial sounds, scrapyards, train yards, old factories, to ground the fantasy. When you watch with good headphones or a soundbar, the film becomes immersive on another level. The world doesn't just look alive, it sounds alive, predatory, and unstoppable. Costume and prop work deserves its own spotlight, too. Dan Henna's production design team created thousands of pieces that blend Victorian elegance with post-apocalyptic ruggedness. London's upper classes wear tailored coats with subtle brass accents and guild badges, historians in scholarly tweed, engineers in oil-stained overalls with tool belts. Hester's outfit is practical survival gear, leather straps, patched fabrics, a hooded cloak that hides her scar and lets her move like a shadow. Anna Fang's aviator look, goggles, scarf, flight jacket, is pure steampunk cool with functional details like reinforced stitching for high-altitude wear. Props are equally obsessive. Antique-looking compasses that double as navigation tools, mechanical binoculars, old-world books with embossed covers, even the museum's ancient artifacts like fossilized smartphones and vinyl records treated as priceless relics. The Stalker's resurrection tech, those glowing resurrection chambers, are practical sets with practical lighting and fog, enhanced digitally so they feel both sci-fi and ancient. Thematically, Mortal Engines hits harder in today's world than it did in 2018. Municipal Darwinism isn't just a cool gimmick. It's a brutal satire of unchecked capitalism, endless growth, resource hoarding, and environmental collapse. Bigger cities consume smaller ones to survive, mirroring how powerful nations and corporations devour weaker ones for fuel, land, or labor. The Anti-Traction League's static settlements represent resistance to that predatory cycle. But they're not perfect utopias either. Internal politics and old grudges still fester. Hester's personal vendetta, Tom's awakening to the rot beneath London's grandeur, Catherine's growing disillusionment with privilege, Shrike's tragic loyalty, they all circle questions of forgiveness, revenge, progress, and what humanity is willing to destroy to keep moving. In an era of climate anxiety, wealth gaps, and debates over sustainability, the film's core warning feels almost prophetic. If we keep devouring everything in our path, eventually there's nothing left to consume. Fan communities have kept the flame alive since the theatrical disappointment. On Reddit, Letterboxd, YouTube deep dives, and Discord servers, people still post frame-by-frame breakdowns of the city chases, debate book versus film changes, share cosplay of Hester or Anna Fang, and petition, half-jokingly, for an extended cut or animated sequels. The Blu-ray and 4K releases remain popular for the extras. Director and producer commentaries, VFX featurettes showing the procedural Sims in action, deleted scenes with more Shrike-Hester tension and guild politics, and making-of segments on the practical sets. Streaming availability ebbs and flows, but when it's on Netflix, Prime, or other platforms, viewership spikes as new audiences discover it. Many call it the Steampunk Mad Max we never got, or Howl's Moving Castle meets post-apocalypse. Comparisons that keep bringing in curious viewers. At the end of the day, Mortal Engines is a love letter to big, risky imagination. It dares to build a completely new world, no pre-existing IP, no safe franchise play, just pure invention wrapped in spectacle, heart, and ideas that linger. Sure, the pacing rushes some character beats, and the box office numbers hurt its sequel chances, but that doesn't diminish what it achieved. The visuals still stun, the action still thrills, the themes still provoke thought, and the performances still connect. It's the kind of movie that rewards multiple viewings, first for the wow factor, then for the details, then for the deeper meanings. We're keeping the traction engines roaring in this ultimate guide to why Mortal Engines 2018 is still a thrilling, underrated adventure that deserves your full attention. We've delved into the weighted digital wizardry with those physics-driven destruction sims making every city clash feel brutally real, the practical sets that made actors feel genuinely dwarfed, Hera Hilmar's commitment to keeping Hester sparse and feral by trimming her own lines, the tilting Airhaven rig that left everyone motion-sick, Philip Reeve's glowing praise for the film's pace and emotional heart. He called it a huge, visually awesome action movie with perfect pace and a genuine emotional core, loving how it stayed true to the story's essence despite necessary trims, and all those clever Easter eggs from Minions as museum deities to Peter Jackson's sneaky cameos. But let's push further into the fascinating corners. More on the soundscape that brings the world alive, costume intricacies, the development journey from early rights grab to final release, phonetic communities trying to polish it, and why this big risk original still sparks passion in 2026. The sound design is a character in itself. Junkie XL's score pounds with industrial clangs, orchestral thunder during pursuits, and eerie electronic hums that echo the mechanical heartbeat of the cities. But beyond the music, the sound team layered in a symphony of chaos. London's low, ominous rumble as it accelerates like a predator on the prowl, smaller towns' frantic, high-pitched squeals when cornered, the metallic crunch of steel on steel during devourings mixed with human shouts and collapsing debris. Foley artists drew from real scrapyards, train depots, and factories to capture authentic industrial groans. Every gear grind, rivet scream, and dust cloud whoosh feels tactile. In quieter moments, subtle ambient winds across the wasteland or the creak of airship rigging add melancholy depth. Crank your surround sound or headphones, and the film transforms into a full sensory assault. The engines don't just move, they breathe, hunt, and devour with terrifying presence. Costumes and props take that lived-in world to another level. Bob Buck's designs fuse Victorian refinement with rugged survival. London's elite in brass-trimmed coats and guild pins, engineers in grease-stained jumpsuits loaded with tools, Hester in layered leather and patches for mobility and camouflage. Anna Fang's aviator ensemble, goggles, flowing scarf, reinforced jacket, screams steampunk rebellion while staying practical for high-flying action. Props are obsessively detailed. Historians' antique compasses and mechanical binoculars, museum relics like fossilized vinyl records, or old smartphones revered as artifacts. Even the resurrection chambers for stalkers built as practical sets with fog and glowing lights before digital polish. Every element reinforces the theme, society rebuilt from scraps of our world, clinging to faded grandeur amid endless predation. The long road to production adds intrigue. Peter Jackson snagged the rights as far back as 2009, with interest traced to 2001 in some accounts, planning to direct himself before the Hobbit trilogy delays sidelined it. By 2016, he handed directing to longtime collaborator Christian Rivers, his feature debut after VFX Oscars, King Kong, and storyboarding on Rings/Hobbit, for a fresh voice. Filming spanned March to July 2017 across Wellington's Stone Street, Avalon, and exterior spots, 86 days total, with early 2018 pickups and reshoots to refine action and emotion. The team leaned on digital over miniatures for flexibility. Jackson noted advances in CGI digital doubles made massive city animation feasible without locking shots early. Deleted scenes fuel endless what-if discussions. Cast members missed moments expanding Shrike and Hester's backstory, his role as a reluctant guardian post-trauma, their hostile yet paternal bond condensed in the final cut. Anna Fang and Tom had a tender talk about Hester that got trimmed. Political clashes between Valentine and Magnus Chrome lost extra-ideological depth during reshoots, merging scenes for tighter pacing. Catherine and Beavis Pod's efforts to sabotage Medusa had more build-up cut. Finedits like Mortal Engine's mature cut rearrange sequences, trim goofy humor, like Clyde Potts' face at the Minions display, remove redundant exposition, and restore a more natural flow, proof the raw footage has untapped potential for deeper character moments. Philip Reeves' take remains positive. He visited the set in May 2017, cameoed, and after release said Rivers captured the relentless energy and heart perfectly, even if films can't match a novel's digressions. He appreciated the adaptation's core fidelity amid streamlining. No TV reboot seems likely. Reeve noted in 2020 it'd be nice but improbable, leaving the film as the sole big-screen outing. In 2026, Mortal Engines stands out as a rare non-franchise gamble, $100 to $150 million on pure invention, themes of consumption and collapse that resonate amid climate and inequality talks. The spectacle, those devourings, performances, Hilmar's raw intensity, Lang's haunting Shrike, and ideas endure. It's flawed, rushed in spots, exposition-heavy at times, but the ambition shines. We're still deep in the trenches with Mortal Engines, uncovering every hidden gear and spark that makes this 2018 post-apocalyptic steampunk adventure such a compelling watch. Even now, in 2026, when its bold originality feels fresher than ever against a landscape of endless sequels and reboots. We've covered the Weta digital procedural destruction magic that turned city devourings into visceral nightmares, the practical sets that dwarfed the cast and added real awe to performances, Hera Hilmar's fierce commitment to Hester's sparse feral dialogue, Philip Reeves' genuine enthusiasm for the film. He praised its perfect pace and genuine emotional core while understanding why novels' digressions had to go, the tilting Airhaven set queasiness, and those cheeky Easter eggs like the Minions as animal-headed gods of Lost America, a fun universal swap for the book's Disney nods, McDonald's arches as sacred relics, and Peter Jackson's face on London's digital wanted posters. But let's keep rolling forward with more sound design depth, prop and costume intricacies, the film's long gestation period, fan edit efforts to refine it, recent cult chatter, and why this underdog still roars with relevance. The soundscape is immersive in ways that elevate every scene beyond visuals. Junkie XL's score delivers pounding industrial rhythms that sync perfectly with the city's movements, deep bass rumbles for London's predatory advance, frantic metallic percussion for smaller towns fleeing, soaring strings and choral swells during aerial dogfights. But the Foley and sound editing teams went even further, recording real scrap metal clashes, train yard squeals, factory hammers, and even wind through ruined landscapes to create a world that audibly breathes destruction. When London engages its massive engines, you hear layered layers, low-frequency growls, grinding gears, steam hisses, distant human panic, all mixed to vibrate through your setup. Shrike's footsteps are weighted metallic thuds with subtle biomechanical whirs, making his presence feel heavy and inevitable. In quieter moments, like Hester and Tom's first tense exchanges, ambient wasteland winds and creaking airship rigging add a haunting melancholy. Good audio turns the film into a full-body experience. The engines don't just drive the plot, they pulse like a living threat. Props and costumes are packed with thoughtful details that reward close viewing. Production designer Dan Henna's team crafted guild-specific looks. Historians in scholarly tweed with brass-trimmed spectacles and leather-bound notebooks, engineers in oil-smeared overalls festooned with wrenches and gauges, merchants in flashy brocades hinting at wealth from trade. Hester's ensemble, patched leathers, hooded cloak, practical boots, is built for stealth and survival, with hidden pockets and reinforced stitching. Anna Fang's aviator gear features vintage goggles, a flowing scarf for wind protection, and a jacket with functional straps for harnesses. The museum props are a highlight. Ancient artifacts like cracked smartphones, vinyl records, and skateboards displayed as holy relics of lost America, alongside dinosaur skeletons, a wink to Universal's Jurassic line and those minion idols. Resurrection chambers for stalkers were practical builds with glowing practical lights and fog machines, digitally enhanced for that eerie resurrection glow. Everything feels scavenged from our world, twisted into this nomadic future. The film's journey to screen was a marathon. Peter Jackson acquired rights around 2009, with earlier interest dating back to 2001, envisioning it as his next big project after The Hobbit. Delays from Hobbit production pushed it back until 2016, when Jackson announced Christian Rivers, his longtime VFX/storyboard collaborator, Oscar winner for King Kong effects, would direct his feature debut. Script by Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Philippa Boyens streamlined the book's episodic structure for cinematic flow. Filming ran March to July 2017 in New Zealand, Wellington's Stone Street Studios, Avalon, and Exteriors, with 2018 pickups and reshoots to polish action beats and emotional arcs. No major franchise safety net, just pure ambition on a $100 to $150 million budget. Fan communities have stepped in where official extensions never came. Fan edits like Mortal Engine's Mature Cut, released around 2023 on fan edit sites, trim runtime from 128 to about 122 to 123 minutes, removing redundant exposition, goofy humor, like reactions to the Minions display, and tightening pacing without reordering scenes, conservative tweaks that some say make character moments breathe better. Discussions on forums highlight hopes for deleted scenes, more Shrike-Hester paternal tension, expanded guild politics, extra Catherine Beavis intrigue, in a hypothetical extended cut, though none exists officially. Reeve himself has said reboots or sequels seem unlikely, but fans keep the conversation alive. In recent years, through 2024, 2025, and into 2026, the cult following has grown steadily. Reddit threads, Letterboxd logs, and YouTube breakdowns praise the visuals and world-building while acknowledging flaws like rushed storytelling. VFX artists still rave about the effects in Corridor Crew-style reviews, calling them floored, even if the narrative frustrated. It's often called the steampunk Mad Max we deserved, or a Howl's Moving Castle meets Dystopia gem that found its audience post-theatrical flop. Streaming spikes and home video extras, commentaries, VFX breakdowns, deleted scenes, keep introducing it to new viewers who appreciate its anti-consumerism satire in our era of endless growth debates. Mortal Engines remains a testament to swinging big, a wholly original world of predator cities, biomechanical warriors, air battles, and themes of survival, revenge, and sustainability that hit different now. The spectacle dazzles, the heart connects, the ideas provoke. Flaws exist. pacing, some character shorthand, but the imagination wins out. We're not hitting the brakes yet on this deep, heartfelt pitch for why Mortal Engines 2018 is one of those films that quietly builds a loyal following and keeps pulling people back in year after year. We've already gone through the weight-of-digital procedural sims that made destruction feel alive and terrifying, the practical London gut set that genuinely intimidated the cast, Hera Hilmar's deliberate choice to keep Hester's dialogue minimal and raw, Philip Reeves' warm endorsement of the adaptation. He loved the relentless energy and emotional truth Rivers captured, even with the book's necessary cuts, the motion sickness-inducing tilting Airhaven rig, and those playful Easter eggs, the minions as museum deities, McDonald's arches as holy relics, Peter Jackson's face on London's wanted screens, and even Reeves' own cameo. Let's keep the journey going with more on the film's music layering, how the practical effects blended with digital, the long shadow of its box office fate, the quiet ways it's influenced later projects, and why, right here in 2026, it still feels like a breath of fresh imagination in a blockbuster world that often plays it safe. Junkie XL's score isn't just background, it's woven into the fabric of the movie. The industrial percussion was recorded with real hammers on scrap metal and anvil strikes to mirror the city's mechanical souls. Those low-frequency rumbles during London's acceleration were tuned to hit sub-bass ranges that you feel more than hear on a good system. When the score quiets down for Hester's quieter moments or Tom's wide-eyed discovery, subtle synth pads and distant echoing strings evoke the vast emptiness of the great hunting ground. The sound mixers layered in location-specific ambience, wind howling through ruined skyscrapers, distant thunder from dust storms, the creak of wooden walkways on smaller towns. During the big devourings, the audio chaos is surgical. Individual metal groans, rivet pops, collapsing masonry, human screams, all panned to create a 360-degree sense of being caught in the middle. It's one of those scores that rewards rewatches with the volume up. The engines literally become part of the emotional rhythm. The blend of practical and digital effects is where the film really shines on repeat viewings. While Weta handled the bulk of the city-scale spectacle digitally, many key sets were built for real. Sections of London's underbelly with working conveyor belts and steam vents, the slave market platforms, Shrike's creepy workshop with its resurrection machinery. Actors walked through tangible environments, reacting to actual scale rather than green screen emptiness. Hilmar talked about how the physicality informed her performance, making Hester's determination feel grounded. For the devourings, practical miniatures, detailed scale models of smaller towns, were filmed being crushed by hydraulic rigs, then digitally extended and composited with the full-size CGI cities. That hybrid approach, old-school model work plus modern simulation, gives the destruction weight and texture that pure CGI sometimes lacks. Even Shrike's resurrection chamber started as a practical prop with practical lighting and practical fog. Digital artists added the biomechanical glow and energy pulses later. It's that marriage of tangible and virtual that makes the world feel believable, not cartoonish. The box office story still stings, but it's part of what makes the film special now. Opening in December 2018 against Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Verse, Aquaman, and Mary Poppins Returns created brutal competition. Marketing trailers leaned hard on spectacle but struggled to quickly convey the unique cities eat cities premise to casual audiences. No massive A-list draw, a cooling YA dystopia trend, and the sheer originality, no built-in fanbase, meant it earned roughly $84 million worldwide against a $100 to $150 million budget plus marketing, leading to estimated losses in the $100 to $175 million range. Yet that flop label has ironically helped its cult rise. People who missed it in theaters found it on streaming, Blu-ray, or 4K, and word of mouth spread among fans who crave non-franchise epics. The home release extras, Rivers and Jackson commentaries, VFX breakdowns showing the procedural tech in action, deleted scenes with extra Shrike-Hester tension and guild debates, turned it into a treasure for enthusiasts. Its influence is subtle but real. Later projects like Arcane, Steampunk adjacent world-building, Shadow and Bone's mechanical elements, or even certain Dune. Part 2 desert chases echo the scale and texture Mortal Engines aimed for. VFX artists in interviews have cited its city models and destruction sims as benchmarks for large-scale environmental animation. Fan cosplay communities still thrive. Hester's scarred look, Anna Fang's aviator gear, and Shrike's towering menace appear at cons regularly. Reddit threads and letterboxd reviews from 2024 to 2026 often call it ahead of its time, or the big original bet Hollywood should make more often. It's become a sleeper favorite for people tired of safe IP plays. At its core, Mortal Engines is about hunger, literal and metaphorical. Cities devour to survive, just as societies devour resources, power, futures. Hester devours revenge, Valentine devours ambition. Tom learns what not to devour. The film asks big questions without preaching, wrapped in a visual and auditory feast that still holds up beautifully. It's not flawless. The script rushes some arcs. Exposition can feel clunky. But the ambition, the wonder, the sheer invention outweigh the stumbles. We're still cruising through every fascinating corner of Mortal Engines, 2018. That ambitious post-apocalyptic steampunk epic that never quite got its due in theaters but has quietly built a devoted following over the years. We've explored the procedural VFX magic behind those city devourings, physics sims making every collapse feel raw and real, the hybrid practical digital sets that grounded the spectacle, Hera Hilmar's raw, line-trimming approach to Hester's feral intensity, Philip Reeve's heartfelt approval of the film's energy and emotional truth. He said it captured the book's core perfectly despite trimming digressions, the queasy Airhaven rig, and those fun museum Easter eggs from Minions as Lost America deities to Peter Jackson's digital wanted poster cameo. Let's keep the wheels turning with more on the film's lingering cult appeal in recent years, updates on where you can stream it right now in 2026, phonetic efforts to refine it, subtle influences on later media, and why this big swing original still feels so vital. The cult following has grown steadily since its 2018 release, especially among fans who love bold, non-franchise world-building. On platforms like Reddit, Letterboxd, and YouTube, people keep posting breakdowns of the VFX, debates over book changes, like Hester's scar being softened or guild politics getting backgrounded, and calls for more love for its anti-consumerism satire. It's often hailed as the steampunk Mad Max we never fully got, or a Howl's Moving Castle meets Dystopia hybrid that's aged well visually. Recent chatter highlights how its themes of endless predation and resource collapse resonate louder amid ongoing global conversations about sustainability and inequality. Even in 2025 and 2026 discussions, fans point out how the film's ambition stands out in an era of safer bets. It's become a go-to recommendation for people tired of remakes and sequels. Streaming-wise, availability shifts around, but as of early 2026, you can catch it for free with ads on YouTube Free in many regions, perfect for a casual rewatch. It's also available to rent or buy digitally on platforms like Amazon Video, Apple TV Store, and Fandango at home. Prices usually start around $3.99 for rental. It popped up on Tubi for free streaming starting January 2025, or around then based on announcements, joining other cult sci-fi/fantasy titles. Check your local listings since geo-restrictions apply. It's not always on Netflix, HBO Max, or major services right now, but free ad-supported options make it easy to dive back in without commitment. The Blu-ray and 4K releases remain solid for extras like commentaries, VFX breakdowns, showing those procedural city sims in detail, and deleted scenes that tease deeper character moments. Phonetic communities have kept tinkering too. One popular version, Mortal Engines Mature Cut, updated as recently as early 2026 on Phonetic sites, trims the runtime from 128 to around 122 to 123 minutes, cutting redundant exposition, toning down some lighter humor, like reactions to the Minions display, and smoothing audio/pacing without major reordering. It's a conservative polish that many say makes the tone more consistent and focused, letting the spectacle and themes breathe better. Other edits rearrange scenes or restore flow, and fans still hope for an official extended cut someday with more Shrike-Hester backstory, guild intrigue, or Catherine Beavis plotting. Though deleted scenes on home media already offer glimpses of what got trimmed for pacing. Influence-wise, while no direct sequels or big spin-offs emerged, the box office hit was too steep for quick follow-ups. Its DNA shows up subtly in later works. The massive-scale environmental animation and hybrid destruction effects have been cited by VFX artists as benchmarks for large dynamic worlds. Steampunk dystopian vibes echo in shows like Arcane's mechanical Undercity or certain Shadow and Bone elements, and the rolling city concept inspired fan discussions around games or media with nomadic megastructures. It's even listed among top steampunk films on sites like Ranker, rubbing shoulders with classics like The City of Lost Children or Van Helsing, proof its visual language stuck. Ultimately, Mortal Engines is a reminder that cinema thrives when it dares the unfamiliar. The Predator cities grinding across the wasteland, airships slicing the sky, Shrike's haunting presence, Hester's unyielding drive, they create a world that's epic, gritty, and thought-provoking. It's not perfect. The script condenses a lot, some beats rush, but the scale, heart, and ideas make it unforgettable. In a time when originals are rare gems, this one shines brighter with age. We're still rolling strong on this ultimate deep dive into Mortal Engines, 2018. The post-apocalyptic steampunk beast that swung for the fences with massive rolling cities, airship battles, biomechanical warriors, and themes that hit even harder today. We've unpacked the weighted digital procedural destruction that made those devourings feel like unstoppable forces of nature, the hybrid practical digital sets that gave actors real scale to react to, Hera Hilmar's fierce, self-edited performance keeping Hester raw and intense, Philip Reeves' positive take on the adaptation. He praised the film's breakneck pace and emotional core, saying it stayed true to the story's spirit despite trimming the book's many side paths, the queasy Airhaven tilting rig, and those clever museum Easter eggs, minions as deities of Lost America, fossilized McDonald's arches as sacred ruins, skateboards and washing machines as ancient artifacts, Chudley Pomeroy's Bilbo Acorn pin, Peter Jackson's face on London's wanted screens, and Reeves' own cameo with his son. Let's keep the engines churning with the latest on streaming in early 2026, how the cult following is evolving, phonetic updates, subtle cultural ripples, and why this film's bold vision still feels like a wake-up call for more original adventures. Streaming availability has shifted around as of February 2026. Always check your region since it varies by country. You're in India, so options might differ from US-focused ones, but digital rentals are global-friendly. Right now you can stream it for free with ads on YouTube Free in many places, super easy for a quick rewatch without paying. It's also available to rent, around $3.99 USD equivalent, or buy digitally on Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV Store, and Fandango at home, formerly Vudu. Great for owning it in UHD with those crisp VFX breakdowns. Tubi added it for free ad-supported streaming back in January 2025, and it's still there in supported regions. Though Tubi has geo limits, so VPNs help if you're outside the US. Netflix has carried it in some countries like the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand with or without ads, but it's not universally available everywhere. Worth a quick search on your local Netflix. HBO Max/Max has had it in spots but isn't consistent. Prime Video often has it for rent or purchase in UHD too, with solid extras like director commentary. If you're hunting for free/discounted, YouTube Free or Tubi are your best bets right now. No subscription needed. Home video, Blu-ray/4K, remains killer for the full package. Rivers/Jackson commentaries, deleted scenes, extra Shrike-Hester tension, more guild debates, and VFX featurettes showing those insane city sims. The cult following keeps simmering and growing quietly into 2026. While it never exploded into mainstream cult status like Blade Runner or The Thing, some recent articles even note it hasn't built the same devoted resurgence as older bombs. Dedicated fans on Reddit's r/Mortal Engines, Letterboxd, and YouTube still post deep analyses, frame-by-frame VFX looks, book versus film comparisons, and appreciation for its anti-consumerism message in our climate and growth-obsessed world. Threads from 2025 to 2026 call it ahead of its time, or a missed opportunity for a franchise, with people recommending it as the steampunk epic we deserved. It's popped up in underrated sci-fi lists and podcasts, like underrated episodes discussing its fandom journey, and cosplay of Hester, Anna Fang, or Shrike shows up at cons. No massive revival wave, but steady rediscovery via streaming spikes, especially when free options hit. Some fans joke it's the steampunk Mad Max meets Howl's Moving Castle, that Hollywood should revisit with a series, though Reeve has said reboots seem unlikely. Fanedit scene is active too. The standout Mortal Engines mature cut by Paranoid Android got an update as recently as January 2026 on fanedit.org. It trims to about 122 to 123 minutes, cuts childish humor, like goofy Minions reactions, tones down broad comedy, smooths audio issues, better center channel non-dialogue at the end, and refines pacing without big reorders. Many reviewers give it high marks, 9.8 out of 10 in spots, for making the tone more consistent and letting spectacle/themes shine. Other edits tweak flow or audio, and forums still discuss potential extended cuts with restored deleted scenes, more paternal Shrike Hester layers, extra political clashes. It's proof passionate fans keep polishing this gem. Subtle influences linger. VFX pros cite its large-scale environmental sims and hybrid destruction as references for dynamic worlds in later projects. Steampunk dystopian vibes echo faintly in Arcane's Undercity mechanics or certain fantasy series with nomadic tech. It's listed in top steampunk films roundups alongside The City of Lost Children, and recent articles, even 2026 ones, revisit it as a big sci-fi bomb that deserved better, contrasting its $84 to $85 million global haul, huge loss after $100 to $150 million plus budget/marketing, with reboots of older flops. Mortal Engines is pure, risky imagination. Predator cities grinding across scarred Earth, air battles slicing the sky, Shrike's tragic menace, Hester's scarred determination, Tom's awakening to corruption. Themes of endless hunger, literal devouring, metaphorical exploitation feel prescient. Flaws? Rushed beats, exposition dumps, but the wonder, scale, and heart make it stick. We're still deep in the wasteland with Mortal Engines, 2018. That wild, wheeled steampunk epic that keeps proving why it's worth every minute despite its tough theatrical run. We've covered the procedural VFX sims turning city devourings into raw chaos, the practical sets that made the cast feel tiny and real, Hera Hilmar's intense, self-trimmed performance as Hester, Philip Reeve's solid thumbs up. He loved how Rivers nailed the pace and heart, even with the book's side adventures cut for screen time, the nauseating Airhaven rig, and those museum gems, Minions as ancient gods, fossilized McDonald's arches, Peter Jackson's sneaky poster face, and Reeves' cameo. Let's keep pushing forward with the most current scoop as of early February 2026. Fresh streaming details tailored for where you are in India. Satna, Madhya Pradesh. How the cult vibe is holding up lately, the latest on that popular Fanedit, and why this film's big ideas still feel urgent and exciting. Streaming in India right now, as of February 2026 checks, looks pretty solid for easy access. You can watch Mortal Engines streaming directly on Netflix. It's available there with subtitles and HD options in many regions, including India. If Netflix isn't showing it for you, double-check your app or search Mortal Engines, since availability can fluctuate by account or updates. Amazon Prime Video also has it for rent, around 99 to 149 rupees equivalent for SD/HD, or buy, around 399 to 499 rupees for UHD, with solid streaming quality and extras if you own it. Apple TV Store lets you rent or buy digitally too, great for UHD if you're on Apple devices. No widespread free ad-supported options like Tubi in India, Tubi's geo-locked to the US mostly. But YouTube might have it for rent/buy in some cases, or check for promo deals. Hungama Play has shown up in some Indian listings for rent/buy as well. If you're hunting free, Netflix is your prime spot right now. No subscription extras needed beyond the basics. Home video, Blu-ray/4K, is still the gold standard for commentaries, VFX deep dives, and deleted scenes if you want the full package. The cult following remains steady and passionate into 2026, even if it's not a massive explosion like some older bombs, think Blade Runner or The Thing. Reddit's r/Mortal Engines stays active with book versus film debates, VFX breakdowns, and calls for more love. Fans still call it ahead of its time for its environmental satire and rolling city concept amid real-world growth and climate talks. Recent 2025 to 2026 threads highlight its themes feeling prescient, with people recommending it as a hidden gem for steampunk or dystopian fans. Podcasts like Underrated have episodes dissecting its journey from flop to cult contender, And cosplay, Hester's scar, Anna Fang's aviator look, Shrike's menace, pops up at events. No huge revival wave, but steady rediscovery via streaming, especially when it hits free or low-cost spots, keeps introducing it to new viewers tired of formula franchises. Some articles even revisit it as a big sci-fi bomb that deserved better, contrasting its $83 to $85 million global gross. Massive loss after 100 to 150 million plus costs, with reboots of lesser films. Fan-edit updates are alive and kicking. The go-to Mortal Engine's mature cut by Paranoid Android got a small polish in late 2024/early 2025. Last noted upgrade around November 2024, with reviews praising it into 2026. It trims to about 122 to 123 minutes, removes some lighter, goofy humor, like broad reactions to the Minions display, smooths audio issues, better center channel non-dialogue at the end via AI splitting, and refines pacing for a more mature tone without reordering scenes. Fans rate it highly, 9.8 out of 10 in spots, as a watchable upgrade that lets the spectacle and themes shine brighter, perfect if the original's tonal shifts bugged you. Other edits exist for flow tweaks, and forums still dream of an official extended cut with more restored backstory, Shrike-Hester paternal layers, guild politics, Catherine Beavis intrigue, though nothing official has surfaced. This film endures because it's unapologetically bold. No safe IP, just a fresh world of predator metropolises, sky pirates, biomechanical tragedy, and big questions about consumption and survival. The visuals hold up stunningly. The devourings, air chases, grinding gears, and the heart in Hester's vendetta, Tom's wonder, and the ensemble's chemistry pulls you through. Flaws like rushed exposition or condensed arcs exist, but the imagination and relevance, endless hunger devouring everything, make it linger. We're still charging ahead on this epic, no-holds-barred love letter to Mortal Engines, 2018, the post-apocalyptic steampunk juggernaut that dared to build something wildly original and keeps rewarding fans who give it a chance. We've geeked out over the Weta digital procedural sims, making those city clashes feel like cataclysmic events, the practical sets that grounded the spectacle in real awe, Hera Hilmar's raw intensity as Hester, cutting her own lines to stay feral and true to the character, Philip Reeves' enthusiastic nod to the film's pace and emotional heart. He said it nailed the core despite trimming the novel's digressions, the tilting Airhaven set that left everyone queasy, and those cheeky museum Easter eggs, Minions as deities of Lost America, fossilized McDonald's arches as relics, Peter Jackson's face on London's wanted posters, and Reeves' own cameo. Let's roll into the freshest updates as of early February 2026, right around your time in Satna, Madhya Pradesh. Current streaming options tailored for India, how the cult following is holding steady, the latest on that standout fan edit, and why this film's bold swing still feels like essential viewing. Streaming in India right now looks strong and convenient. As of February 2026, you can stream Mortal Engines directly on Netflix. It's available there with HD options, subtitles, and multiple audio tracks in many Indian regions. Just search for it in your app. Availability can vary slightly by account or updates, but it's listed as streaming on Netflix in India per recent checks. If it's not popping up for you, try refreshing or checking regional settings. Amazon Prime Video has it for streaming, including with ads in some plans, plus rent around 99 to 149 rupees for HD/SD, or buy around 399 to 499 rupees for UHD if you want to own it digitally with those crisp extras. Apple TV Store offers rent or buy options too, solid for UHD on Apple devices. Hungama Play shows up for rent/buy in some listings, around 140 rupees. And if you're looking for free ad-supported, no major Tubi equivalent in India right now, it's US geo-locked. But Netflix and Prime are your easiest paid access points. Digital rentals include standard 30-day start window and 48-hour finish once you hit play. Home video, Blu-ray/4K, remains killer for commentaries from Rivers and Jackson, VFX breakdowns, those procedural city sims in detail, and deleted scenes teasing more depth. The cult following is alive and kicking into 2026, though it's more of a steady, dedicated simmer than a massive explosion. Recent articles and discussions, even from early 2026, revisit it as one of the biggest sci-fi bombs ever. Estimated $175 million loss after $100 to $150 million plus budget/marketing. But fans keep championing its originality. Reddit's r/Mortal Engines has ongoing threads on VFX love, book comparisons, and calls for more appreciation of its anti-consumerism themes in our era of endless growth debates. It's often recommended as ahead of its time, or the steampunk dystopia we deserved, with cosplay and YouTube breakdowns keeping the conversation going. No huge mainstream revival, some pieces note it hasn't hit the cult level of older flops, but streaming availability spikes interest. People discover it via Netflix/Prime and spread the word. Podcasts and lists still feature it in underrated sci-fi roundups, and fans dream of what a series or game could do with the full book quartet. Phonetic scene stays active. The Mortal Engines Mature Cut by Paranoid Android on phonetic.org got a small upgrade in November 2024, with reviews and discussions carrying into 2026. It trims to about 122 to 123 minutes, cuts childish or goofy moments, like broad humor around the minions display, smooths audio, better center channel non-dialogue at the end via AI fixes, and refines pacing/tonal consistency without major reorders. Fans rate it highly, 9.8 out of 10 in spots, as a more mature, focused watch that lets the spectacle and themes shine brighter. It's a great option if the original's lighter beats felt off. Forums praise it as making a strong case the film could have landed differently with tweaks. Other edits exist for flow or audio, but this one's the standout. Hope for an official extended cut lingers, though nothing new has dropped. This movie endures because it's a rare beast. Pure invention. No franchise safety net, just rolling metropolises hunting across scarred Earth, air battles, biomechanical tragedy, and big questions about what we devour to survive. The visuals stun. Those devourings, grinding gears, soaring airships. The heart connects through Hester's drive, Tom's wonder, and the ensemble's chemistry, and the themes. Rampant consumption, power predation, rebuilding from ruin feel prescient now more than ever. Flaws like rushed exposition or condensed arcs are there, but the ambition and wonder win out. We're still deep in the heart of Mortal Engines, 2018. That ambitious, rolling steampunk adventure that's quietly earned its place as a cult favorite for anyone who loves bold world-building and high-stakes spectacle. We've gone over the weight-of-digital procedural magic behind the city devourings, those physics sims making every collapse feel chaotic and real, the practical sets that added genuine scale to the performances, Hera Hilmar's intense, self-edited Hester, keeping her sparse and feral, Philip Reeves' praise for the film's relentless energy and emotional core. He noted it stayed true to the story despite cutting novel digressions. The motion-sick Airhaven rig and those fun museum Easter eggs, minions as ancient deities, McDonald's arches as relics, Peter Jackson's poster cameo, and Reeves' own appearance. Let's wrap up this marathon with the absolute latest as of early February 2026, right around your spot in Satna, Madhya Pradesh, up-to-the-minute streaming options for India, how the fan community is faring now, the current status of that key fan edit, and a final push on why this film still deserves your time and a fresh watch. Streaming in India as of February 2026 is pretty straightforward and accessible. Mortal Engines is currently available to stream directly on Netflix. It's listed there with HD quality, subtitles, and multiple audio options in most Indian regions. Just search for it in your Netflix app. If it doesn't show, try refreshing or checking your account settings as regional catalogs update frequently. Recent checks confirm it's playable on Netflix India without extra add-ons. Amazon Prime Video also has it for streaming, including with ads on some plans. Plus rent, around 99 to 149 rupees for HD/SD, or buy, around 399 to 499 rupees for UHD, if you prefer owning it digitally with those excellent extras like VFX breakdowns. Apple TV Store offers rent or buy in UHD too, ideal for crisp viewing on Apple Gear. Hungama Play and other platforms like Google Play, YouTube, or JioCinema sometimes carry it for rent/buy, around 140 to 200 rupees. But Netflix and Prime are the most reliable right now for immediate access. No major free ad-supported service like Tubi is widely available in India, geo-locked mostly to the US. But if you're open to rentals, they're cheap and easy. For the full experience with commentaries, deleted scenes, extra Shrike Hester depth, guild politics, and VFX featurettes, grab the Blu-ray or 4K disc if you can. Still the best way to geek out. The cult following keeps chugging along steadily into 2026. It's not a massive viral resurgence, no sudden explosion like some older flops, but the passion is real and consistent. On Reddit's r/Mortal Engines, threads from late 2025 into early 2026 focus on VFX appreciation, book-to-film debates, scar-softening trimmed subplots, and how the anti-consumerism satire feels spot on amid today's climate and resource talks. Letterboxd logs and reviews often call it underrated gem or ahead of its time, with fans recommending it for steampunk dystopia lovers. Podcasts and underrated sci-fi lists still feature it, contrasting its $83 to $85 million global gross, huge loss after $100 to $150 million plus costs, with how it holds up better on streaming. Cosplay, Hester's look, Anna Fang's aviator style, Shrike's menace, appears at events, and word of mouth keeps introducing it to new viewers via Netflix/Prime Spikes. It's earned a quiet, dedicated spot. People who discover it now often say it's the original epic Hollywood should make more of. Fenedit World is still active. The Mortal Engines Mature Cut by Paranoid Android on Fenedit.org had a small upgrade in November 2024, with reviews and discussions carrying strong into 2026. It clocks in around 122 to 123 minutes, removes some lighter/goofy humor, like broad Minions reactions, smooths audio, better center channel fixes at the end using AI tools, and refines tonal consistency/pacing without rearranging scenes. Fans give it high marks, 9.8 out of 10 averages, as a more focused, mature take that lets the spectacle and themes hit harder. It's seen as making a case the film could have landed differently with those tweaks. Other edits tweak flow or audio, but this one's the go-to. Community still hopes for official extras someday, though nothing new has emerged. Mortal Engines is a reminder of what happens when filmmakers go big on pure invention. Predator cities rumbling across the earth, airships tearing through the sky, Shrike's haunting tragedy, Hester's unyielding fire, Tom's eye-opening journey, all wrapped in themes of endless hunger, survival, and rebuilding that echo louder now. The visuals dazzle, those devourings, gears, chases. The heart pulls you in, and the ambition shines through the flaws. Rushed spots, exposition. It's not flawless, but it's unforgettable and increasingly appreciated. We're still powering through this ultimate guide to Mortal Engines, 2018. The post-apocalyptic steampunk epic that's all about massive traction cities hunting each other across a ruined world, airship dogfights, biomechanical stalkers, and themes of survival, revenge, and endless consumption that feel more relevant than ever. We've hit on the Weta digital procedural destruction sims, making those devourings feel like unstoppable natural disasters. The practical sets that gave the cast real scale to react to, Hera Hilmar's commitment to Hester's raw intensity, trimming her own lines to keep her feral and word-sparse, Philip Reeve's genuine praise for the film's breakneck pace and emotional core. He said it captured the book's essence perfectly even with the necessary cuts for screen time. The tilting Airhaven set that caused motion sickness on set, and those playful museum Easter eggs, Minions standing in as deities of Lost America, a cheeky Universal in-joke swapping for the book's Disney idols, fossilized McDonald's arches treated as sacred ruins, old skateboards and washing machines as priceless artifacts, Chudley Pomeroy's Bilbo Baggins-style acorn lapel pin, Peter Jackson's face on London's Electronic Wanted posters as a virtual cameo, and even author Philip Reeve plus his son Sam popping up as Sean Guinese onlookers in a crowd scene. Let's keep the momentum with the freshest updates as of early February 2026, right around your location in Satna, Madhya Pradesh. Current streaming availability tailored for India, how the cult following is holding steady, the latest on that popular Fenedit, and a final heartfelt push on why this underrated gem still deserves your full attention and a rewatch. Streaming in India right now, as of February 2026, is convenient and reliable. Mortal Engines is currently available to stream directly on Netflix. It's listed there with HD quality, subtitles, and multiple audio tracks in most Indian regions. Just search for it in your Netflix app. Recent checks confirm it's playable on Netflix India without needing extra add-ons. Though regional catalogs can shift slightly, so refresh if it doesn't show immediately. Amazon Prime Video also has it for streaming, including with ads on some plans, plus rent, around 99 to 149 rupees for HD/SD, or buy, around 399 to 499 rupees for UHD, if you want to own it digitally with those excellent extras like director/producer commentaries and VFX breakdowns. Apple TV Store offers rent or buy options in UHD too, perfect for crisp viewing on Apple devices. Hungama Play, Google Play, YouTube, and sometimes JioCinema carry it for rent/buy, prices around 140 to 200 rupees. But Netflix and Prime are the most straightforward for immediate access right now. No major free ad-supported services like Tubi are widely available in India, geo-locked mostly to the US. But Netflix streaming makes it super easy, no extra hassle. For the complete package with deleted scenes, more Shrike-Hester paternal tension, extra guild politics clashes, Catherine Beavis intrigue, VFX featurettes showing the procedural city sims, and commentaries from Christian Rivers and Peter Jackson, the Blu-ray or 4K disc is still the way to go if you're a deep dive fan. The cult following remains steady and passionate into 2026. It's not a viral explosion like some older cult classics, but the dedication is real and consistent. Recent Reddit threads on r/Mortal Engines from late 2025 into early 2026 dive into VFX breakdowns, book-to-film comparisons, like Hester's scar being toned down or subplots getting condensed, and appreciation for how the municipal Darwinism satire feels spot on amid today's endless growth and resource debates. Letterboxd reviews often tag it as an underrated gem, or ahead of its time, with fans recommending it for anyone craving steampunk dystopia without franchise baggage. Podcasts and underrated sci-fi lists still feature it, and cosplay, Hester's scarred determination, Anna Fang's aviator cool, Shrike's towering menace, shows up at events. No massive mainstream revival, but streaming on Netflix/Prime keeps sparking new discoveries. People watch it now and spread the word about its bold originality and themes that echo climate/resource anxieties. It's earned a quiet, loyal spot as the kind of big swing original Hollywood should chase more often. Phonetic updates are still going strong. The Mortal Engines Mature Cut by Paranoid Android, available on fanedit.org, got a small polish in November 2024, with discussions and reviews carrying strong into 2026. It trims the runtime to about 122 to 123 minutes, removes some lighter/goofy humor, like broad reactions to the Minions Museum display, smooths audio issues, better center channel fixes for non-dialogue at the end using AI tools, and refines tonal consistency/pacing without reordering scenes. Fans rate it highly, around 9.8 out of 10 averages, as a more mature, focused version that lets the spectacle, action, and deeper themes hit harder without the occasional tonal whiplash. It's seen as a solid upgrade if the original's lighter beats felt off balance. Other edits exist for minor flow or audio tweaks, but this one's the standout. Community chatter still hopes for official extras someday, like an extended cut with restored backstory, though nothing new has surfaced. At its core, Mortal Engines is a testament to creative risk, a wholly original world of predator metropolises grinding across the wasteland, soaring airships, biomechanical tragedy, and personal vendettas wrapped in big ideas about what societies devour to keep moving. The visuals hold up stunningly, those city devourings, gear-grinding chases, aerial thrills. The heart shines through Hester's fierce drive, Tom's wide-eyed awakening, and the ensemble's chemistry. And the themes, rampant consumption, power predation, rebuilding from ruin, resonate louder in our world. Flaws like rushed exposition or condensed arcs are there, but the ambition, wonder, and sheer invention make it unforgettable and increasingly appreciated over time. We're still deep in the wasteland with Mortal Engines, that breathtaking 2018 steampunk adventure that's all about gigantic traction cities prowling the earth like living predators, airships slicing through storm clouds, resurrected biomechanical warriors carrying centuries of sorrow, and a story that quietly asks some of the biggest questions about what humanity is willing to consume just to keep moving forward. We've already walked through the insane Weta digital craftsmanship, those procedural simulations that let entire buildings twist and shatter with horrifying realism during the devourings. The 686 million cubic meter digital London broken into over 17,000 individual pieces across 8 massive tiers, so every lurch over rough terrain felt authentic and terrifying. The hybrid approach where practical miniatures got crushed on hydraulic rigs before digital extensions took over to create that perfect blend of weight and chaos. We've talked about the physical sets at Stone Street Studios in Wellington that made actors feel genuinely small next to towering walkways and grinding conveyor belts. Hera Hilmar's fierce dedication to keeping Hester Shaw word-sparse and animalistic by cutting her own dialogue in rehearsals, so every glare and movement carried the character's trauma. Philip Reeve's own warm words after seeing the finished film. He called it a huge, visually awesome action movie with perfect pace and a genuine emotional core, saying Christian Rivers had captured the relentless spirit even if a movie could never fit every digression and side adventure from his 336-page novel. We've savored the quirky production details like the Airhaven bar built on a tilting rig that left cast and crew queasy for hours, the 3,900 extras each taking 30 minutes to costume so every crowd felt like a living society on the move, and those delicious museum Easter eggs, the minions standing in as deities of Lost America because Universal distributed both films, T-Rex and Triceratops skeletons winking at Jurassic World, remnants of McDonald's golden arches treated as sacred ruins, old skateboards and washing machines labeled priceless artifacts, Chudley Pomeroy's Bilbo Baggins' acorn lapel pin, Peter Jackson's face on the electronic wanted posters as a playful virtual cameo, and Philip Reeve himself with his son Sam appearing as Sean Guarni's onlookers in one wide crowd shot. Let's keep the tracks turning and talk about how this film still feels alive and urgent right now in early 2026. The themes never stopped being timely. Municipal Darwinism isn't just a cool sci-fi gimmick. It's a brutal mirror held up to endless growth, resource hoarding, and the way powerful structures literally consume everything weaker to stay on top. Bigger cities devour smaller ones for fuel, and parts the same way nations and corporations have historically swallowed smaller players for land, labor, raw materials, and market dominance. The Anti-Traction League's static settlements stand as stubborn resistance to that predatory cycle, but they're far from perfect utopias. Old grudges, rigid hierarchies, and internal suspicions still fester inside their walls. Hester's personal vendetta burns with the kind of rage that comes from seeing everything you love destroyed. Tom's slow awakening forces him to confront the rot hidden beneath London's polished upper decks. Catherine's quiet rebellion peels back layers of privilege she never questioned before, and Shrike's tragic loyalty to his creator and his long-dead purpose make him one of the most heartbreaking figures in modern sci-fi. These aren't just plot devices, they're human questions wrapped in mechanical spectacle. And they land differently when you're watching in a world still wrestling with climate tipping points, wealth gaps widening into chasms, and debates about whether endless expansion is progress or suicide. The sound design deserves its own spotlight because it turns every frame into something you feel in your bones. Junkie XL, Tom Holkenborg, delivered a score that's equal parts orchestral thunder and industrial violence. Heavy percussion recorded by hammering real scrap metal and anvils, so the rhythm matches the grinding of city tracks. Deep sub-bass rumbles tuned to vibrate your chest when London accelerates into pursuit. Frantic metallic clangs when smaller towns desperately try to outrun their fate. Soaring strings and choral swells during the aerial sequences that make you hold your breath with the pilots. But the Foley team went even further. Scrapyard recordings, train depot squeals, factory hammer strikes, wind howling through ruined skyscrapers, the creak of wooden walkways on fleeing settlements, all layered so precisely that when London finally engages its full engines, you hear individual rivets screaming, steel groaning, distant human panic rising, and the low-frequency growl of an entire metropolis coming alive as a single predatory organism. Shrike's footsteps are weighted metallic thuds with subtle biomechanical whirs underneath. The airships whine with vintage propeller authenticity mixed with futuristic thrust, and the quiet wasteland moments carry haunting ambient winds that make the silence feel vast and lonely. Watch it with good headphones or a proper sound system, and the movie stops being something you watch. It becomes something that surrounds you, hunts you, and refuses to let go. Production trivia keeps surfacing the more you dig. The opening chase was deliberately shaped to echo the famous Star Wars, A New Hope pursuit. a massive hunter bearing down on a fleeing ship across endless barren flats, so the scale and danger hit you instantly. Character names often hide little jokes about ancient trademarks. Pandora Shaw nods to the software brand, and the books later go wilder with Napster Varley, Nutella Iceberg, Windeline Pie, Nabisco Schkin, Daz Gravy. Shrike's original book name was inspired by Max Schreck's Nosferatu performance, though Reeve tweaked it from Greik to avoid Shrek associations. St. Paul's Cathedral in the film is flipped so its doors face backward for better visual flow and key shots. The resurrection chambers started as practical sets with real fog machines and glowing practical lights before digital artists added the eerie energy pulses. Reshoots in early 2018 focused on tightening emotional beats and action clarity. Some political back and forth between Valentine and Magnus Chrome got merged or trimmed so the pace never let up. Deleted scenes fans still talk about include more of Shrike raising Hester after her trauma, turning their hostile dynamic into something almost paternal, and extra investigative moments between Catherine and Beavis Pod that built more tension toward the climax. The box office disappointment still stings, roughly $84 million worldwide against a budget estimated between $100 and $150 million plus marketing costs, leading to losses speculated anywhere from $100 to $175 million. But that failure has ironically helped its long-term survival. Without franchise pressure, the film lives on streaming and home video, where curious viewers discover it without expectations and often walk away stunned by how much it dares. Recent articles and video essays from 2025 and 2026 keep revisiting it as one of the biggest what-if bombs of the late 2000s, a movie that swung for pure invention when Hollywood was already leaning hard into safe reboots and sequels. VFX artists still cite its city models and destruction work as reference points for large-scale dynamic environments. Steampunk and Dystopian fans list it alongside The City of Lost Children or Howl's Moving Castle as essential viewing. Cosplay of Hester's hooded cloak and scar, Anna Fang's aviator jacket, or Shrike's towering silhouette keeps appearing at conventions, and fan communities quietly petition for what a proper sequel series could have done with Predator's gold, infernal devices, and a Darkling plane. So here's the simple truth. Mortal Engines is a feast for anyone who still believes cinema can surprise us. It dares to build a completely new reality. Rolling metropolises locked in Darwinian war, sky pirates with hearts of steel, a scarred young woman refusing to let the past define her, a boy who learns the history books lied, a resurrected soldier who remembers too much, and a world that asks whether progress is worth the cost of everything it consumes. The spectacle never stops dazzling. The city devourings are visceral masterpieces, the aerial battles pulse with adrenaline, the gears and smoke and fire and dust make every frame feel alive. But the heart underneath is what keeps people coming back. Hester's quiet fury, Tom's growing courage, the ensemble's chemistry, the melancholy beauty of a ruined planet rebuilt on wheels. They all make you care deeply even as the machines roar.